Good morning, beloved ones. Turn to someone and tell them God is in charge. God is in charge. God is in charge. You know, sometimes it's so easy for us to forget that, isn't it? We get all hung up, in our stuff, and we forget that God is in charge. Yes. Well, beloved ones, we are into the fourth week of this new year already. Seems like it comes quickly. And we've been working these past 3 weeks, we've been working on our intentions, trying to keep them clear and focused on those things that will bring us real meaning and real value to our lives. Those things that really carry, spiritual weight and spiritual energy. And we've been working because we know that if we could somehow set our priorities right, that if we could lay that foundation of basing all of our experiences, all of our thoughts, all of our energy upon spirit, and we can come from that place in us that is spirit, then our lives will begin to show up differently. We talked about ensuring or making sure that we are making conscious contact, that we are consciously connected to God. We know that we're always connected because we can't be physically separated from God. But consciously, we want to have that awareness that we are consciously connected to God, right? One with God. And that somehow we're going to allow ourselves to begin the process to embody the beingness of God, to embrace the presence of God as it moves in us and as us. And that as we do this, we're also then moved to express the beingness of God, to express the goodness of God in our lives, and to not only have it for ourselves, but to share it with others, to share this light and this love and this energy and this essence with God, with others. Now, all of this seems kind of easy, doesn't it? You set your intentions, you get your priorities right, you focus on the things of spirit, you embody and embrace the energy and the presence of God, and then you allow that energy and that spirit to move in you and to move through you so that you then touch and express with others in your world. Seems like a nice process and an easy process. But then, and it is, but I'm thinking, then why aren't we all just sort of floating around in a state of bliss? Why aren't we feeling that we are experiencing heaven on earth? Why aren't our lives showing up that would indicate that we are somehow in the midst of grace and we're experiencing peace and we're just flowing with all that is? Why is it that that is not our experience? Well, believe this, until we are able to raise our personal vibration and to raise our energy field, which we all exist in and all have. We have a personal vibration, we have a personal energy field that is one with spirit. And allows us to connect and to feel and to receive the grace and the goodness of God. But until we are able to raise our vibration to that level of spirit through practice and disciplined and consistent, meditation, consistent opening ourselves up to the presence of God, until we can do that, then we are more than likely going to be subject to the heavy vibrational pull of this earth or of this world. And we'll be subject to the pull of all the stuff that goes along with the human condition. Until we have supplanted our human nature with our spiritual nature and put that first, we're going to be subject to the push and pull of the world. Now, we all know that the earth's gravitational pull is strong, correct? Everybody knows that, right? We know that it is actually gravity that keeps us bound. It keeps us from flying off into space, keeps us, grounded to the earth. Well, metaphysically and metaphorically, it is the same kind of energy in consciousness that keeps us bound, that keeps us somehow grounded, but yet steeped and connected to the things of the world. It keeps us from rising in consciousness, or it keeps us from being able to stay in a higher frame of mind. That same gravitational energy of the world and the stuff that's in the world keeps us from experiencing that wonderful consciousness of peace that we seek, or the presence, or staying in a higher state of mind, right? We'll get up for something, and then something will happen, and we'll be down. We'll pray and we'll meditate, and we'll come out of that, and all of a sudden somebody will say something or do something, and we're out of it, right? We're in the midst of remembering the truth and feeling the truth and knowing the truth, and then something happens, and all of a sudden we're asleep and unconscious once again. We come here, we have peace, we drive into church in peace, and then there'll be something that happens, and all of a sudden we're out of our peace. Just that quickly, on our way to experience peace in church, but have conflict in the car. Or we might have peace one moment and pain the next. And so what can we do that can help to bring us into a state of balance where we're not so, thrown out of kilter when things happen, or we're not subject to the effects, getting caught up in the effects of the world, that we remember that there's a source. How can we have that happen? There's such a strong emotional and psychological pull from the weight of the world, or the weight of the human condition, that oftentimes it causes us to get caught up in the realm of appearances. The weight is so heavy, the pull is so heavy, that we get caught into what we think is reality out here. And then we begin to succumb to the fears or the doubts or the limiting perspectives that we're holding in mind, or that maybe just are swirling around us. We look around and see the winds and the waves, and we become frightened. We move into the energy that others are sharing and having, and we think, well, yes, that must be real. The economy is bad. Oh, yes, that must be real. There's not enough food. Oh, yes, that must be real. Or there are people who can't live in conflict, in peace with each other. And so we get caught up in what's swirling all around us, that we forget the sublime nature of God, that we forget the goodness of God when we're in the midst of experiencing the harshness of life, because life can be harsh at times. And we forget when we are caught in the tragedy and the suffering that we may see, be it through acts of nature or through our own personal experiences of tragedy, through our own sense of loss, or through our own sense of disappointment, or maybe a dire diagnosis, or some family challenge or issues, or maybe your children are off in the wrong direction, and we're caught up, and all of a sudden we begin to feel disconnected and isolated and alienated and overwhelmed by the stuff of life. See, it's at this time, or these times, friends, that it is then easier for us to be pulled into the muck and the mire, to spiral downward in consciousness, or to succumb under the weight of our own thoughts and our own emotions. And so when that happens, what do you do? What do you do? How do you, as a true student especially, how do you keep yourself elevated in consciousness? How do you keep your heart open? How do you keep your mind open? There's a wonderful song that Gordon Chambers, he's going to be at the Kennedy Center, but he was here a couple of weeks ago. And he sang that powerful song by B.B. Winans called Stand, right? What do you do? This is what B.B. says. What do you do? It says, tell me, what do you give when you have given your all and it seems like you can't make it through? Well, you just stand. What do you do when you've done all you can do and it seems like it's never enough? Been there? I've done it. What else can I do? It's not enough. And he goes, tell me, what do you say when your friends turn away and you are all alone? You just stand. Or tell me, how do you handle the guilt of the past? How do you deal with the shame? Or how can you smile when your heart has been broken and filled with pain? Well, you just stand. Because God has a purpose and God has a plan. That's the song. You just stand because God has a purpose and God has a plan. All of these things, friends, describe the heaviest side of life and gives us the directions that we might follow, which is to just stand. Sometimes in truth and in unity, we are a positive, practical Christianity. We are a positive movement. And sometimes it may seem like we are discarding the heavier components of life. That we're saying, oh, don't worry about that. Just be positive. That is true. But how do you do that? How do you allow that truth to really touch your life and be present with you when you are in the midst of your stuff? You just stand. The implication is not that we should just stand and let life beat us down. So don't misinterpret that it says you should stand and hit here and hit me here and okay, hit me again, life, take it over here. You know, it's not that we're going to stand and let life beat us down or that we're going to stand until we just simply buckle under the weight of it all. I believe that song is leading us to have an inner resolve, an inner strength that will allow us to not only meet and face whatever life may bring, but to also rise above it. Why? Because God has a purpose and God has a plan. And we're always in the midst of that. You see, there is always the other worldly energy, the other worldly life that is manifesting as well. Yes, there is the earthly experiences, but there is the heavenly, there is the spiritual component to life as well. And that part of life is also always calling us. That part is also pulling us higher and higher and higher. But we have to remember it. We have to be willing to turn towards that energy, turn towards that vibration and that spiritual sphere. Especially when we're in the midst of the hurts and pains of life. That's especially when we need to remember to turn toward the light. It's like turning towards the light while you're in the midst of darkness. You know, when things are dark and what will happen? That's when we have to turn toward seeking the light of truth. In fact, it is only the light of truth. It is only through the light of God that we are going to be able to overcome the darkness. It is only through the presence of God that we can see our way through. So when you find yourself in the middle of the human condition and you're pulled by the gravity of the situation. You're pulled by the human dynamics that you might experience, like fear or doubt or anger or resentment or jealousy or whatever other limiting perspective or emotions that you might have. When you're in the midst of that, you can either be pulled downward or you can be pulled upward. You can be sucked into what is taking place or you can be pulled out of what is taking place by your awareness, by your consciousness. The choice is yours. The choice is yours. Remember, the earth is always the things of the world are always going to seek to pull us down, right? Gravity is always working to keep us bound. That's always going to happen. But likewise, God is also always calling us and pulling us up higher and higher. But we have to make the choice. We have to seek it. Seek with all your heart. Seek with all your soul. Turn toward the light and hold on to that energy, because you can defy the gravity of your situation. You may not be able to defy the gravity of the earth's pull, but you can defy the gravity of your situation. And you can rise to the truth, friends, with a capital T. You can rise to the truth by raising your consciousness, by bringing light, spiritual light into your situation, not looking at the realm of appearances and what's showing up, but what is the light that is there. See, and then trusting God. You can make the commitment that no matter what you may be experiencing, no matter what you may face in your life, that you're going to make a commitment that you're going to not only stand, but you're going to stand in the truth, and you're going to stand upon the truth. I'm going to stand in my truth. I'm going to stand on my truth, regardless of what is taking place. And that's a consciousness that it may not be as easy to get to as we would like, but it comes with practice. It comes with making a commitment. Part of standing in your truth and on your truth, part of standing, period, means being still. To stand and to be still. Not to be still in the sense that you're going to, again, take all the blows, but you're going to stand and be still. To still the quietness of all that clamoring going on in your mind. To still all those thoughts and the feelings that are running around in your consciousness, right? To still all the urges to want to jump off into the future and all the what ifs and all the vain imaginings. Well, this might happen and that might happen. And then we've got fear going on about our future, or being pulled into the past, the lingering past, the what is, what if this had happened, and what if that had happened, and what if I just done that, and what, all of that. Be still. Let that be still. Because either of those places does not allow you to access the presence of God. Either of those places does not allow you to access the truth of God in the moment, because God is in the moment. God is in the now experience. And so we're always being called to just be present. We want to do so much with or holding. Just be present. Be present to God, right? Right where you are, with whatever is happening now, without any of your interpretation of it. Because the moment you start to interpret it, I'm going to tell you a secret, you're wrong. Your interpretation is going to be limited. Your interpretation is going to be subject to some form of error. And so you let go of that and you just learn to be present to God, open and receptive, right where you are with whatever is happening now. Remember, we're trying to learn how to embody beingness, right? To embody beingness, just being one with God, being open and present and receptive to spirit. One with, that's all you need to do. Letting and allowing God to lead the way. Allowing and letting God to make a way if necessary, or to direct our paths without our getting in the way. Turn to somebody and tell them, get out of the way. Get out of the way. Get out of your way. Get out of the way. You're in your own way. Get out of the way. Get out of God's way. You're in your own way. So we have to get out. We have to let and allow God to direct our paths. We know what it says in Proverbs, one of my favorite scriptures, and we've heard this from Proverbs 3, verse 5. It says, trust in the Lord with all of your heart. Do not depend upon your own understanding. Seek his will in all you do, and he will direct your paths. Right? He will direct your paths. So, or the other King James says, lean not unto your own understanding. Right? In all of our ways, acknowledge God. Trust in God. Get out of your way. The quote I love is that you are not the assistant manager of the universe. And we don't have to try to figure it all out and plan it all out and work it all out. You've got to practice being present to God and trusting. Seek that in all that you do, and He will direct your paths. And so, friends, if and when you are feeling the weight of this world, don't be afraid to open yourself up and to ask God to simply touch you, to bless you, to heal you, to guide you, and to lift you up. In that condition of weightiness and trying to hold it all together, I say surrender and let it go. Give it to God. Give it all to God. All your fears, all your hurts, all your pains, all your decisions, all your choices, all the angst, all of your joy. Give it all to God, because that is the only presence and power that can move mountains, move the earth, and move the universe. And so we give it to God so that we can be empty. And when we are empty enough, God will fill us enough with God's presence and God's goodness, love, mercy, light, peace, healing, comfort, joy, whatever the need. God is able. So we must just be present. Remember, the grace of God will never lead you where the love of God can't keep you. Let go and let God. Blessings. Well, namaste.